Okay, so good morning, Stemcy. Praise be Jesus and Mary. Today we're going to talk about operations on functions part 1. Before we proceed to our lesson, let's try to remember the things that we have discussed last time. Okay, remember the difference of function and relation. When we say relation, it's a set of ordered pairs. And functions, a function is a relation in which each element of the domain corresponds to exactly one element of the range. Always remember mga anak na all functions are relations but not all relations are functions. Please take note of that. Okay? So function does not allow an element of its domain to have two or more corresponding elements in the range. However, it does not restrict two or more elements in the domain to correspond to the same element in the range. So as you can see here, we do have one-to-one and many-to-one, and we considered them as function. It's because isang beses lang naman natin ginamit yung mga input natin dito or yung values of X. Okay? So here, in many-to-one relationship, though they do have the same output, but isang beses lang naman natin ginamit yung 2 and negative 2, even though they do have the same output. So it's considered as function. Okay? However, sa ating one-to-many and many-to-many relationship, we can tell that this is not a function. It's because dalawang beses natin ginamit yung ating input, which is 9. And here, we actually use 3 twice to produce outputs. Okay? So remember, kailangan isang beses lang dapat nauulit ang ating X or ang ating input in order for us to consider an equation or a relation, a function. Okay? Next, we can represent functions in different ways. First one is through a table of values. Ordered pairs, we can also use this. Sa graph, we need to use a vertical line test to identify mga anak if it's a function or not. As you can see dito sa first graph, this is a function. It's because the vertical line only intersects with exactly one point only. Okay? While dito sa mga not function natin, dalawang beses sila nag-intersect sa ating line. Okay? So, sa ating graph, kailangan ang function daw ay nag intersect lang sa isang point kapag tayo ay gumamit ng vertical line test. We can also represent the function through an equation just like this. So, f of x is equal to 2x plus 3. Okay? So here, let us try to answer the following mga anak. So for set G, can we consider this as function or this is just a relation? Okay, tama. This is not a function. Why? It's because as you can see, naulit yung ating x which is 2. Okay? So, dalawang beses siyang inulit sa set na to. So, kapag naulit siya, ibig sabihin, relation lang siya, hindi siya isang function. How about for set F? Sa set F, makikita natin na iba-iba sila ng value ng x. Okay? Therefore, we can consider this as function. How about for set H? Tama. This is a function. It's because hindi naman naulit yung value ng ating mga x. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, they do have different inputs. Okay, so now I hope you understand the difference of function and relation. Domain and the range. Okay, domain of the function is the set of all values in the first quantity or the x value or x coordinate in the ordered pair xy or the abscissa in the xy plane coordinate plane. Range of the function is the set of all values in the second quantity or the y value or y coordinate in the ordered pair or the ordinate in the xy plane or coordinate plane. So just need to remember that when we talk about the main, it's actually the value of your x, the abscissa or the x coordinate in the ordered pair. Okay, while the range is the y value, the y coordinate or the ordinate in the xy plane or coordinate plane. Now let's try to check the graph of domain and range of functions. In this graph, the domain is what we call the input and range is our output. So here we can tell that the domain should be greater than or equal to -5 and the range should be less than or equal to -5. How to identify the domain and range of a function? If we encounter a polynomial function, you need to remember that the domain or the range is actually a set of real numbers. Okay? What is a polynomial function? So a function that involves only non-negative integer powers or only positive integer exponents of a variable in an equation. Ito yung mga polynomials na hindi negative yung exponent. Okay? So, kapag wala silang negative or all positive yung exponent nila, we can consider them as a polynomial function. Remember, if y is a polynomial, the domain is the set of real numbers. Using set notation, the domain can be expressed as domain x such that x are elements of real numbers. This is how you're going to write it. X such that x are elements of real numbers. Okay? Again, kapag ang y nyo, just like this, if y is equal to 2x plus 5, the domain is x such that x are elements of real numbers. Kasi, pwede tayong maglagay ng kahit anong number to replace the x. Okay? Kasi hindi naman negative yung ating variable. Now, if x is a polynomial, if you try to evaluate the value of x using in terms of y mga anak and you found out that it is a polynomial, okay? So, positive lahat ng exponent ng variable nyo, then we can actually tell that your y, okay, um, the values of your y are all real numbers. Okay? So, pwede nyo isulat ito, range y such that y are elements of real numbers. Okay? Basta polynomial ang inyong function, whether yung y or x, we can tell that the domain or the range is a set of real numbers. So let's have an example to better understand how polynomial function works. So here we have y is equal to 2x plus 3 or f of x is equal to 2x plus 3. Remember mga anak that y is also f of x. So these terms are actually interchangeable. Okay? So let us find the domain. As we can see here, y is actually a polynomial. Since y is a polynomial and wala naman siyang negative exponent, okay, we could already tell that the domain, okay, ang value ng domain natin ay x such that x are elements of real numbers. So how about for the range? In order for us to get the range, we need to solve for the value of x. Okay? We need to solve x in terms of y. Since we have y is equal to 2x plus 3, we just need to transpose 3 to the other side. It will be -3. So we have y minus 3 is equal to 2x. Then we need to divide both sides by 2. If we divide both sides by 2, we will only get x, okay? Since we already omit 2, okay, we only have x is equal to y minus 3 divided by 2. So, X is a polynomial. Y, this is not a rational expression because we have our y as our numerator. Since we have y as our numerator, this is considered as polynomial. Okay, and therefore, if it's polynomial, we can tell that the range is actually y such that y are elements of real numbers. So, real numbers, lahat ang pwede nating ilagay sa y as its value. Kasi this is a polynomial. Ang value ng x, o ang x natin ay polynomial. Okay? So, lagi niyong tatandaan yan. Kapag polynomial, ang value ng y or ang x nyo, ang lalabas na domain at ang range nyo ay set of real numbers. And you need to write it like this in set notation. Okay? Now, let's move forward to rational function. Paano naman nag-work ang rational function? Rational function is the ratio of two polynomial functions where the denominator polynomial is not equal to 0. Dito, ang tatandaan nyo lang, dapat hindi mag-equal to 0 ang inyong um, denominator. That's what you just need to make sure. So kapag nakakita na kayo na nakita nyo na yung y or yung x nyo ay nasa denominator, automatic ang magiging answer nyo ay dapat ang range nyo at ang domain nyo ay hindi mag-equal sa 0. Okay? If y is a rational expression, the domain is the set of real numbers except those values that will make the denominator equal to 0. Bakit ba hindi siya pwedeng maging equal to 0? It's because kapag nag-equal siya sa 0, ang mangyayari mga anak is you will get an undefined number. Okay? Or the equation is undefined. Okay? So, wala siyang solution. So, you need to make sure na hindi siya mag-i-equate sa 0. If x is a rational expression, the range is the set of real numbers except those values that will make the denominator equal to 0. So, you need to represent your domain and range like this. For the domain, x such that x is not equal to 0. And for y, you need to write it like this. It means that y such that y is not equal to 0. As you can see here, f of x is equal to 2x over x plus 1. Our denominator is a polynomial with x, okay? So, we need to make sure since it's a rational expression, anong number ang hindi natin pwedeng gamitin sa x natin sa denominator, okay? Or the value of our x. We should not assign negative 1. Okay? Kasi kapag ginamit nyo yung negative 1 dyan as value of your x, okay, you'll get negative 1 plus 1, that will become 0. And bawal na bawal maging 0 ang ating denominator. It's because it will result to undefined. Okay? So, if you're going to identify the domain, your domain is x such that x is not equal to negative 1. Okay? Now, how about for the range? In order for us to identify the value of the range, okay, we need to solve x in terms of y. So, y is equal to 2x over x plus 1. In order for us to solve for x, we need to multiply x plus 1 to both sides. If you're going to multiply x plus 1 to both sides, you'll get y times x plus 1 and you will only have 2x here kasi kapag minultiply mo yung x plus 1 dito sa equation na 2x over x plus 1, the x plus 1 divided by x plus 1 is 1. So, it will be omitted here already and you will only have 2x. Okay? So, now we can actually evaluate y times x plus 1. So, you're going to have xy plus y equals to 2x. And then, 2x minus xy is equal to y. Saan nanggaling to? We actually transpose xy to the other side. So, it will be negative xy. So, 2x minus xy is equal to y. Now, the next step is to factor this one since we cannot add unlike or we cannot add or subtract unlike terms. Okay, we need to use we need to factor it out. So ilalabas ngayon natin yung x. Okay, so x times 2 minus y is equal to y. Now in order for us to remove 2 minus y from this, okay, from the left side, we need to divide both sides into 2 minus y. So if we're going to divide this part into 2 minus y, we will be able to omit this and we will only have x. And here we will have y over 2 minus y. As you can see, this is also a rational expression, right? So therefore, anong value ang hindi natin pwedeng gamitin sa y para hindi siya maging 0? Correct. We should not use 2 as the value of our y. Okay? So meaning to say, your range will be y such that y is not equal to 2. Hindi siya pwedeng maging 2 kasi if you use 2 here as the value of your y, the equation will be undefined. Okay? How about if it's a radical function? Now, what is a radical function? A radical function is a function that is defined by a radical expression. If y is a radical expression, and your index is an even number, okay? So just like this, if n is even number, you need to make sure that the value of the x or your y is equal or it's greater than 0. Hindi pwedeng maging negative yung value ng x and y nyo kapag nasa isang radical expression sila. Okay? Always remember that it should be greater than or equal to 0. Now let's try to have this example. As you can see here, we do have f of x is equal to x squared minus 6. And we don't have any negative exponents. Therefore, y is equal to x squared minus 6. This is a polynomial function. Okay? And the domain is x such that x are elements of real numbers. Okay? And then we need to solve for x in terms of y in order for us to identify the range. So if we have y is equal to x squared minus 6, we need to solve for x. So we need to transpose negative 6 to the left side. So it will be positive 6. Y plus 6 is equal to x squared. In order for us to omit the squared, okay, the exponent, we need to get the square root of y plus 6 and the square root of x squared. So if we're going to do that, square root of x squared is x and the square root of y plus 6 is square root of y plus 6. Okay? Next is we can already tell that our x is a radical function. Therefore, y plus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So in the rule of inequality, you'll just need to, if you need to get the value of y, you just need to transpose the 6 on the other side. If you transpose it, it will become negative 6. So y is greater than or equal to negative 6. So if you're going to write your range in set notation, it will be y such that y is greater than or equal to negative 6. Okay? Ibig sabihin, yung value ng y natin, it should be negative 6, okay, or greater than that in order for it not to be a negative number. Okay? Kasi nga, sa radical function, hindi pwedeng maging negative yung ating square root. Okay? Kapag ang index niya ay 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, just like this. So we do have square root of y plus 6. Therefore, we can only have greater than or equal to negative 6 as our y. Okay, what about the piecewise function? Sa piecewise function, mga anak, um, you need to remember that the domain or the input of a piecewise function is the union of the specified domain. Anong ibig sabihin nun? These are actually the specified domain that we have. X is less than or equal to negative 2 and x is greater than negative 2. So here, we can write it in form of set notation as the domain is x such that x is less than or equal to negative 2 or x is greater than negative 2. Okay, so that's how you're going to write your domain. If you do have a piecewise function, you write it like this. Okay, again, your domain is just the union of the specified domain. So, madali lang hanapin yung inyong domain kapag meron kayong piecewise function. So, how about for the range? In order for us to find the range of the piecewise function, we need to use a graphing software such as Symbolab, piecewise function calculator, GeoGebra, or Desmos. Okay, you can use any of those. Now here, I actually use the Symbolab piecewise calculator and I got this graph. Okay, so range of a piecewise function is the union of the ranges of each subfunction over its subdomain. In order for you to find the range of this function, we could consider which horizontal lines intersect the graph. So as you can see here, I will actually draw a horizontal line and I found out that the when I draw a horizontal line, the first function actually intersects at negative 4. Okay? Negative 4 of the y-axis. And then, for the second function, I found out that it's actually intersects at negative 1. Therefore, the range of the function is y such that y is less than or equal to negative 4 or y is greater than negative 1. So, bakit less than or equal ang ginamit natin dito sa y is less than or equal to negative 4? It's because as you can see dito sa first um, function natin, we can tell that we are having solid point here. Okay? Kapag solid siya or shaded, it means that that point is actually part of the solution. So since the function is going downward, we can actually tell that the y should be less than or equal to negative 4. Okay, and for the other function, the reason why we use greater than is because we have a hollow point here. Okay, when we say hollow, hindi siya shaded or hindi siya solid. And then the line or I mean the function is going upward. So it means that the y are all numbers greater than negative 1. Okay? So yan. That's how you're going to write your range if you will have or if you have a piecewise function.